Square 410, Fort Lauderdale Tower, fly heading 0905, runway 10 left, cleared for takeoff.
Hello everyone, and welcome to this edition of FS MaNiA. It's early dawn here in South Florida at the Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International Airport. We flew in here last December in Carenado's Phenom 300 on a ferry flight from Brazil to Wichita, Kansas. Finally, here we are, a year later, ready to complete the Phenom 300 Ray Marshall series by flying the last leg of the trip and delivering this jet to the Eisenhower National Airport in Wichita. Wichita is the largest city in the state of Kansas. It's the 48th largest city in the United States. In 1917, Clyde Cessna built his Cessna Comet in Wichita, making it the first aircraft built in the city. The city became such a center of aircraft industry that the Aeronautical Chamber of Commerce dubbed it the Air Capital of the World in 1929. We'll have more on Wichita's famed aircraft industry later in the flight, along with, as always, a few other fun facts. I apologize for the ridiculously long delay in completing the fourth and final leg of this flight. It's been a very busy year in the construction industry, and that's where I earn the real-world dollars that help support the FS MaNiA channel. I recently finished one of the largest projects I've undertaken in my 40-year career, so now I have time to complete this flight. I'll talk more later in today's flight about future plans for the FS MaNiA channel, but right now we're burning daylight, so climb aboard, buckle up, and let's fly this jet to Wichita. Let's just take a quick look at our route of flight using one of my favorite flight planning tools, skyvector.com. Aeronautical charts. You can see pretty much most of the U.S. here in our route of flight, starting down here in southeastern Florida. This is the east coast of the United States here, and the route of flight is northwesterly over here to Kansas, to Wichita. And this is not right, this 389 nautical miles. I think that might just be that leg there, because it's about 1,165 nautical miles, give or take. And so our route of flight will take us across the state of Florida. We'll pass over the Gulf of Mexico, around the Tampa Bay area, and back over the Panhandle here near Tallahassee, which is the state capital of Florida. And from there we will just nick the southwestern corner of Georgia before heading across Alabama, passing over Montgomery, then Birmingham, and next the northeast corner of Mississippi near Tupelo, and then the southwest tip of Tennessee. We will cross the mighty Mississippi River in the vicinity of Memphis, and then over Arkansas we'll catch the northeast corner of Oklahoma near Tulsa, and finally we'll cross the Kansas state line. And if you're counting, that's a total of 8 U.S. states. We'll fly over on our way to Wichita today. So we'll also cross from eastern time zone into central time zone out here in the central U.S. And let's do this too. Let's cut on layers and let's look at weather radar. And you can see there's a little precip down here. Let's also look at our satellite view. I wonder if we can close that. Yep. So there's the cloud cover you can see over pretty much most of the state of Florida that we'll be dealing with, and there's some cloud cover up here too at our destination. I also see some storms out here not too far away, so we'll have to keep an eye on those. And it looks like a pretty severe storm out here over the Gulf of Mexico, so that one shouldn't be a factor, but we'll definitely want to keep an eye on this one right here as we're progressing. Good morning and welcome aboard FS MaNiA's flight from Fort Lauderdale to Wichita. Glad to have you on board this morning. Also glad to have Ray Marshall with us. Ray's going to be flying this last leg to Wichita, and Ray will be handling the radios for us, talking to ATC. And appreciate you coming along with me on this trip, Ray, and all that you've done. If you notice, we've got, in place of our multifunction display, we've got the Garmin GTN 750 in here. Thank you very much, Bert, for that. We're going to try it out, and I've already powered up the airplane. I have gone through the cockpit safety check, and everything is ready to go. I'm going to put in our flight plan, and if you want to see the cockpit safety check, you can always check that out on one of the other Phenom 300 videos, but for right now, let's get in here. We're going to do fly the line and run with speed. Is just our sort of final check before we start engines. So we want to fly as flight plan. We're going to start right here at the Fort Lauderdale Airport. Now I do have this flight plan saved. You can save them, and but since I just want to go ahead and demonstrate how easy it is to put it in here, let's just come in and add our first waypoint. We are using the Thunder departure procedure, and I'm just looking to see. Let's come in here and get our wind. Just see which runway I can expect. Yep, I think we'll be taking off on 28 right based on that. So that's good. We've already got our, let's go back, our transponder code is set in there, and so we're good there. And so yep, Thunder is our first waypoint. Let's check that. Let's see, it's Tango Hotel November, or Delta. No, I was right first time. November. Come on, baby. There you go. Delta and Romeo is the last one. We can enter that. There we go. So that's our first fix after on the airway. I'm sorry, it won't even be on the airway at the end of the departure procedure. There we go. So let's go in and add the next fix, which is the LaBelle VOR, Lima Bravo Victor. Double check that. That is right. Enter that. And then from here we're going to be getting on a high altitude jet route J43. So if we click on the waypoint, we can load airway, and it gives us a list of them. And let's just scroll down until we find Jet 43. There it is. And then we want to tell it where we want to get off, and we're going to get off at Seminole VOR. So that is down here, Seminole, right there, and let's load that. So that's all in there. And then from there we're going to take Jet 41. So let's load another airway, Jet 41, and that one we're going to take all the way to Memphis, Tennessee. So we'll go down and find that. VOR is right there. Let's load that airway. And then from there we're going to take Quebec 128. So load another airway right here. And let's go down and find that one. It's here. And that one is going all the way to Bartlesville, which is right there. So we can load that one. This is going to be quick. And then from Bartlesville, load another airway, and Quebec 148 is what we want. That one right there. And we are going to take that one to Moore. And Moore is our last waypoint before we get to the airport. So we're going to load that one. And then the final, it will be our destination, which is Wichita. Let's put that one in there, and that's good. So everything's done there. Let's just take a quick peek on our flight plan, on our map. Just make sure everything looks right. Zoom us on out here. And it's all red because we got on the terrain warning right now at this point, but you get the idea. We're going northwest. We'll talk a little bit more about that as we get going. The other thing we can do while we're in here is let's go ahead and put in our departure procedure. So departing right here, KFL departure, and the Thunder 2 departure, and runway 28 right. So we'll go ahead and load that up, and that's in there. So we're going to come back over to the map and zoom us in for a safe taxi distance right in there, so we can see we're going to be coming out here to Alpha and coming down the runway 28 right, and we will be good there. We'll have to unsuspend the GPS so that it will track that, but
traffic
and traffic must be an airplane leaving. I wonder where that traffic is. Just curious. You can see it. There it is, coming in on final right there. Oh, I see them. Pretty cool. Okay. we do have some traffic around here. It's early in the morning, pretty much dawn. Fly V. V is temperature, and let's come down. I'll show you how to set that, because with this GTN 750 in here, the one thing that happens is that we lose part of the MFD, so we can actually bring it back up here. Let's enter, and we can come over here to our system, and we can set the temperature. Outside air temperature right now is 18, so let's set that up, and we're looking right here, outside air temperature. So this tells FADEC, the airplane, what to do in terms of power, so that's good. Let's go back, and while we're in here, we'll go ahead and set up a landing field elevation. Now, instead of using the flight management system to do this, we are going to just plug it in. It's about 1,340 feet, I think. We'll go with the 15, and then we can always fine-tune it right there. 1,350, that looks good. Let's come back, and we can close that out now. So we got the landing field elevation, fly the line, and then run is radar, which we don't have, so we can skip that. Width is weight and balance, which we've done, and calculated our takeoff weight. And so speeds, finally, and I've already set the VR in here, and VR and V1 are the same, so I've just got VR set at 107. It's turned on, so that's ready to go, and we're all set there to turn on the timer on departure. So I think that should get us ready to go. Let me just take one more look in here. Transponder is set, wind set up there, and I have not set up the panel here. Let's do that, the auto flight control system panel. So we're going to use flight level change when we depart. Our initial altitude is 3,000, and we can expect higher shortly after departure. And let's put our heading bug down on the departure runway, which is 28, right? Scroll that thing around. There it goes. Okay, and so we've got our altitude, our heading. We won't worry about speed, because when we engage flight level change, it will use the speed that's indicated up here. You'll see how that works. So that's all good, and I think we're ready to start the engines. So let me just take a quick peep at the checklist, make sure I didn't forget anything. And before start, signs and outlets, I think we've got those on. Personal electronic devices will be off. Emergency light switch, let me be sure that is armed. We're going to talk about that, and the chime that we've had so much problem with is related to this. As we get up to altitude, stay tuned for that. I have found a solution for it, and engine ignition switches are in auto. We're going to get over here where we can see them here in a second. Yep, they are in auto, and these should actually be down in stop. I should have done that, because when they're in run, which is okay, the rotating beacon is on, so we want it actually to be on at this point since we're ready to start the engine. Cross feed is off over there. Okay, parking brake is set, and it's indicating set right there, so that's what we want, and we're ready to start number 2. So we'll come over here, momentarily start, and we're going to monitor N1 ITT into oil pressure, fuel pressure, everything starting to rise. See our oil pressure just barely coming up there, trying to, or no, I accidentally put it on stop. Well, let's try that again. Now oil pressure's coming up. Fuel flow, N1 rising. There's our light. ITT is within limits. N1 stabilizing. Looks like a good light to me. Starting number 1. We have oil pressure rising, fuel pressure, N1 rising. We have two good lights. So we can go ahead and disconnect our GPU. And let's check our flight controls. Free, full range of movement. That looks good. Go ahead and set flaps 1 for takeoff. External lights. Ray's getting our taxi clearance. The taxi light on. Leave strobes lights off till we get down the runway and clear for takeoff. We are ready to taxi. So brakes released. And away we go. Just a little short taxi down here to runway 28 right. It'll take us but a second to get there. I did have someone ask me about navigating around large airports, complex airports, and finding their way around. Just a couple of quick tips. For one thing, go to online and get yourself an airport diagram and use that to help you become familiar with the airport. Also, if you've got this Garmin, you can definitely look and see where you are. Taxiways are all identified, so that's helpful. And another quick tip, once we get established here on the center line, I'll do real fast, is if you go to outside view, top down, then we can hit the minus key to zoom out. You can see the runway. So that's a good little quick tip for navigating around the airport. A little bonus tip there. And I always try to taxi on the center line, unless there's mud puddles on the center line and you don't want to get your airplane dirty. Other than that, try to stay on the center line. And I try to, when I'm taxiing, to really just focus on taxiing the airplane. I'm not setting gauges and doing things. I do that while the airplane is sitting still. It's just the way I learned, and I have seen other pilots taxi and prep the airplane for departure, especially if there's two pilots. Nothing wrong with that. But I'm flying with Ray today, and he's taking care of a lot of things, so all I'm doing is just trying to get our airplane ready to get off the ground. So one of the things I want to do before we depart here is take off config.
Takeoff, okay.
And it's okay. It means I got everything set, so I'm going to put this brake on for just a second. We're going to mash our toga, which will bring up our flight director, puts us in the roll in the pitch mode. And I'll just run through my checklist before takeoff. Takeoff config check, parking brake set. Cast messages, we don't have any. Signs and outlets, we've set those. Yaw damper is off at the moment. The toga switch is activated, and Ray's telling me we've got a clearance to go, so we're going to go ahead and cut on our landing lights and our strobes. They're on. Passengers prepare for departure. Check final approach, looks clear, and away we go. Brakes off. Time to get out of Dodge. I'm just going to apologize up front for any grievous errors I make in this video, because it has been quite a while since I have flown this airplane, so I'll do the best I can to get everything right. If I make any mistakes, I'll try to fix them, or at least mention them. Okay, we'll bring our power up to takeoff, and I have found it's best just to look down here. And let's get it set up here into the tent. So we have 2 pilots. We don't have to worry about thrust assurance. We'll start the timer, close that, and Ray will monitor the engine gauges. Brakes are released. There's 70 knots. All the gauges and terrain, everything looks good. Up to our rotation speed. Gears coming up. And let's get the flaps up. Yaw damper is on. Autopilot's on. And we'll go in flight level change mode and nav mode. And let's unsuspend. Unsuspend. There we go. And now we're tracking. Let's bring the power back. And we're in the climb, and I'll go ahead and speed us up just a little bit. And there's 3,000 feet, and I'm going to ease that power back. We level off here and wait for our clearance to go on up to higher. They do want you to accelerate to 250 knots as quickly as possible. Shouldn't take us long at level at 3,000. There are some clouds here. Looking for higher. Let's zoom this out here so we can see. We are in fact on the proper course. Everything is set. We're tracking with the GPS. Altitude's holding at 3,000. Say so long to Florida and Fort Lauderdale. After takeoff check, gears up, flaps are 0. Yaw dampers on. Set up the autopilot. Thrust levers are set. Remaining at or below 250 knots. Anti-ice we're not using. And we have been now cleared up to 1,000. So I'll dial us up. And since we've got 250 knots of speed over here, what I'm going to do, let's use the vertical speed mode and appreciate a 3,000 foot per minute climb. And then as we bleed off a little bit of speed, we'll go into the flight level change mode. There's our 3,000. And getting add some power back in here. Let's go to flight level change. Power is set. Back in the clouds. Let's check our outside air temp. We're 14 Celsius. We're good. There. We're on our way. 8,000. Okay. Cleared on up to 18,000. And now we're above the cloud layer. Great. So as we're climbing out, I want to talk a little bit about my feelings about this airplane. I've probably already on some other flights talked about it, but I've had more time now to fly it, to think about it, and definitely have flown this more than any other plane recently. So I'll try to be honest about it. And there's 10,000 feet. We'll get our lights off. It's just my opinion, so what that's worth, take it for whatever that's worth. Keep checking here, make sure everything is as we want it as we're climbing out. Add a little bit more power here, just a tad more. There we go. So we've got a good rate of climb, 4,800 feet per minute on our way to Ewer, and then after that will be Gilby, and then I believe Thunder, and come to 12,000 feet. So I would say that for one thing, this is definitely a very nice airplane. It's an excellent airplane, clean sheet design. If you have not read Ray Marshall's review, you should do that. I will put a link for it in the video notes, and so be sure to take time. It's excellent review, well written, very thorough. And Ray's a great writer, and I think you'll enjoy a lot of the background to this jet. But clean sheet design, it's one of the heaviest single pilot jets that are available. Automated systems to make it pretty easy to fly. Up to 230. They're on that 230. So they got keeping us climbing. That's good. So at any rate. And ground speed right now 277, winds 30 knots. So we're going to have some headwinds along the trip. But so be sure to read Ray's review for one thing. And I think in terms of the visuals of this airplane, they are, I'd say, very good. I think we all expect good textures in our flight models now. And if you're flying anything older, you can see that the textures have gotten better. They've definitely improved. I think they could still be better, but we're in the turn here. But all in all, they're not bad, and so I like that part of this airplane. I'll tell you what I like and sort of don't like. I like that the airplane is pretty simple to fly, and the workload on the single pilot isn't unmanageable. It's not too bad to go on a far flight with it, single pilot. Definitely stay ahead of the airplane. In fact, as we've gone through our transition altitude, we'll go ahead and put the altimeters in standard. There we go. Make sure I've got them in there. Yep. So I like that part of it, and I guess my main gripe has been, as I've said before, there's not a lot of good documentation. There's some documentation, I'll give it that, but it could be much better. It's not exactly what I'd call a study level sim like you get with some of the other top tier developers. You get very minimal documentation, and that's problematic. Up to 330. So we got to climb on the 330. Still got a good rate here. So documentation could be improved, and that would certainly help matters. And the other issue is that this Garmin G1000 is, for lack of a better term, dumbed down version of the real deal for sure. It's based on the default FSX GPS, and it's been enhanced a little bit. It is upgradable to have a Navigraph database, and I've done that, and I've flown with it that way in some of the other flights. it's finicky and it does not behave. It's not near as smart as, of course, the real Garmin 1000. And I think it might be a little unfair to expect that. And I know some of the other manufacturers, now I'm going to exclude PMDG and Majestic because they give you pretty much everything in the package that you need, but some of the other airplane manufacturers at least give you the option to upgrade the GPS. And I have done that in other airplanes like the Turbine Duke by Real Air, and I like that ability to be able to go ahead and spend the money and get a much better navigator than what the default version is. So I think that's a good thing. And so that's been a complaint of mine, is that this system, it doesn't work anything really like the real world system. It's a little tricky to learn it because of the lack of documentation, and so there's a little bit of trial and error, or maybe even a lot of trial and error that goes on with it. But you know, all in all, I think, you know, for the money that you spend on this, it's not unreasonably priced, now, in my opinion. I mean, it costs me more to fill up my truck with gas than it does to buy this airplane, and I don't have, you know, whatever it is, $8 or $9 million to buy the real one. So I mean, this is, you know, pretty dang good, and it's way better than what we started out with when we first had Flight Simulator and monochrome screen. So I'm telling you how old I am there. So let's see, let me just be sure we can go ahead and take our seatbelt signs off as we climb into flight level 260. Cut those off. Passengers feel free to move about the cabin. And we've got our altimeter set. Any ice, we don't need it. We're in the clear here above Florida. And we are going to be talking today about some of the geography we fly over. I've got, of course, as always, some fun facts. And I want to check my notes and see if there's anything else. Let's just take a quick look where we are. There's Lake Okanochee, I think it is. Okabanochee or something. It's the biggest, of course, lake in Florida. It's a pretty prominent landmark. Can't miss it, although we cannot see it because of the clouds, unfortunately. In fact, there's not much you can see very easily from the higher altitude flight levels. But we're going to try to take a look at some of the stuff that we'll fly over, do the best we can. And so we're here, have left southwest Florida, southeast Florida, and we are flying northwestward across the state of Florida, which is about 160 miles wide. And we're in the turn now towards Thunder. And is that lightning behind me? Anyway, we're in the turn towards Thunder. Clear skies in front of us. We got 63 knots wind, and we are going to be crossing the Tampa Bay up here around St. Pete and St. Petersburg and Tampa, and so we'll look in at that. And I was going to say Florida is it's a peninsula, and the Keys are down here. Let's see, I think there they are there. And Key West, great place to go if you haven't been there. And the other thing I was going to tell you, it's about 160 miles on the average wide and about 500 miles long. And then there's a panhandle up here where the state capital of Tallahassee is located. So that's our route right there. And ground speed right now is 319 knots in the climb. And I am pretty satisfied with everything to this point. And I'll probably break the video right here. And but before I do, there is one last thing I want to come in and look at here with OGPS. So I'll try to show you as many of the features on here as I can. Let's come back and we can look at our utilities and trip planning. So thunder to Wichita right now. We're 1,068 nautical miles, and we're showing a ground speed of 321 knots. Estimated timing route 3 hours and 19 minutes. And I think we could look at, I think also, let me back up, so that we've got that. The other thing we can look at is our true airspeed versus our indicated airspeeds. Right now we're indicating, and they're calling this calibrated, I think, but we're indicating 239 knots. Indicated airspeed on the aircraft is just simply the value of an airspeed that the airspeed indicator denotes on the scale, and it's obtained through the pitot-static system, which includes a pitot tube and a couple of static vents. That speed is used aerodynamically, and it's important to aircraft performance, and those speeds are related to takeoff, stall, lift, turn, etc. They're all in terms of indicated airspeed, so that's what we're looking at out here. But if we want to know what our true airspeed is, which takes into account things like pressure, altitude, temperature, and so our true airspeed is indicated right here, 384 knots. So the higher we get, the more difference there is there, but that's actually the speed of the aircraft through the air. And what we're really interested in, though, is what's our ground speed. And there we're leveling off here at flight level 330. Hopefully we'll get higher soon. So we've got a headwind component of 62 knots, wind speed 76 knots, so coming just about off our nose. But our ground speed is what we're really interested in looking at. So even with a true airspeed of 394, we're only doing 333 right now across the ground. But hopefully that'll pick up as we gain altitude and pick up speed. Let's bring this back into the map mode. And up to 430. Okay, so Ray tells me we're cleared up to 430. So I'm going to go ahead and scroll this on up. Get in where you can see what's going on. And we're going to use vertical speed again to start the climb. And that'll bleed off a little bit of the airspeed that we picked up. Let's see how it does. What I want is for this airspeed to decay, and then we'll use flight level change to capture it. And the reason I think flight level change is the preferred method to climb, especially up at higher altitudes, is when you're using vertical speed, the airplane is going to pitch the nose up in order to maintain whatever speed is set in here. Right now it's 2,500 feet per minute, and so there's a possibility that the airplane could continue pitching up until it stalled. And of course you could get some warnings, but if you weren't paying close attention, you could lose control. Flight level change will just hold a speed that, in fact, we're going to engage it here in just a second, and you'll see the speed will change to pretty much what's displayed on the tape. So about 223, 222, we engaged it, and there we captured it. And so now it'll maintain that speed, and we know we're not gonna stall as long as we have a speed that is above stall speed. So that's how that all works. Speed's 330 knots, going through flight level 360, and I'm going to set, like I said, cut the video here, and when I come back I'll have lots more fun facts that I have found in my pre-flight planning. And nice surprise at the end is we're going to identify that will reveal the true identity of 757 X-ray Mike and what it means to FS MaNiA, so stay tuned for that. Until then, I'll sign off and see you on the next one from FS MaNiA. So long.